Hi, welcome to this video for D100 Dungeon. In this video what we're going to be discussing is how to print some of the components from the mapping game, from the print and play mapping game that's found on Drive-Thru RPG. So what we do first of all is we just get the document to make it easier for us to print from. So we're going to just do page display, single view, single page view, and then we're going to zoom out so that we've got one page per screen shot. And we do this just to make it a bit easier to identify what the document page number is we're going to be printing, which is found up here. So what we'll do is we'll print off one sheet, one lot of counters from page 1, and we print off the back as well, page 1 back. But the same technique that we'll be using could be applied for all the other counters that are found throughout the mapping game, so all these counters. And like I said, if you want to print the cards off and you're unsure how to go about, you can check out our other video that shows printing off the cards. So we'll get back onto where we're going to be printing. So we're going to start off with printing page 1 back, page 1 front and page 1 back, and then we'll take it to the table and we'll start cutting them out and showing you how we make them into counters. So page 1 front is found on the document page 12, and page 1 back is found on the document page 13. So they're the two pages that we're going to print, and we're going to print them to a full-size label sheet, and I'll show you the type of media that we've used when we get to the table part of the video. So for now what we do is we just need to tell the printer, so we're going to collect print, and we're going to print actual size, so that if you're printing to different paper media, I think the document size is US letter 8.5 by 11, but we're printing on an A4 page, so it's going to be 8.27 by 1169 inches. So it's important we select actual size so that all of these components all come out to the correct size that was intended by the file. So the last thing to do is to tell it the pages that you want to print, or one of the last things, and we was page 12 and 13, so we select those, hit tab, and then just check the preview. So we're printing page 1 and then page 1 back. So that's all set, and then the last thing is to select your printer properties. So we're going to be printing A4 plain paper, high quality, and then we're okay to print then. So we'll print these onto two separate sheets of paper. We'll print that onto one sheet of label and this onto another sheet of label. Okay, so I'll get these printed off, and then I'll meet you back at the table where we'll discuss the media and show how to go about making these into a decent counter. Okay, so we're at the table. What we've done is we've printed the two copies. We've got page 1 front and page 1 back, and I've chosen two different types of paper to use. One's a photo quality glossy paper, which is an A4 sheet of sticky label, so it's got you can peel it off and stick it to something, and then the other page is just a plain paper which has got no glossy effect, but I did that for the back. So you could do it on either, or you could have a glossy back and a glossy front, or you could do it the same way as what I've done it, or you could just do it all on plain paper. It doesn't really matter. The other thing you're going to need, I will discuss the paper. So the paper that I've used is this product for the glossy paper, and they're just basically sold as just big large sticky labels. That's the glossy one, and the other one that I've used is just a multi-purpose A4 label sheet. And so they're the two types of paper that we've used. And then the other thing you're going to need is mounting board. That's what it's called in the UK. It's thick
cardstock. It comes in a variety of different thicknesses. I think this is probably 2mm thick. You can get them in different colours. Get them from craft shops, hobby shops. They can come in different sizes. You can buy them as, in the UK anyway, you can buy them in A4 sheets, A3 sheets, or you can go bigger and bigger. What I tend to do is I buy the biggest sheet that I can, and then I slice some of them up into A4 sheets, ready for making up counters. Keep a stock of them handy, and then if there's any bigger projects, I keep a couple of sheets kicking around just to make up some boards, bigger boards and things like that. So very inexpensive, probably for the very large sheets, A1 and A2 size sheets. They're probably £3 or £4 a sheet. There's not a lot to it, so you'll get quite a lot of A4 sheets out of a large sheet of this mounting board. It's probably got different names depending on where you come from, but primarily it's used in picture framing. You cut out your frame, and then you put your picture underneath, and then that goes into the actual wooden frame or metal frame that you're using for your picture. So if you need to ask, that's what it's for. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is I found this was an offcut from something that I've done before, but it's going to fit my page. So the first thing that we're going to do is, I think I'm just going to slice off this to make the page easier for me to line up on the sheet that I've got. So I'm just going to trim this. And again, we're using a steel rule. I'll put a new blade on my knife so it's nice and sharp, and use a steel rule so that when you're cutting, it's not cutting away your rule. And be careful with your hands, obviously, so that they don't get trapped under the blade when you're cutting. So don't think I've used enough pressure there, but okay, so I'm just trimming this just to size so I can put the first corner onto the mounting board. Okay, and now all we need to do is choose a side. I'll use the white side for the back, and I'm just going to stick that directly to that page there. So get the corner, it's got these different labels, and for this, start off at one edge, lay it down, pat it down. You don't want to be moving over a glossy surface. Just make sure, use the backing sheet just to press it down firmly onto the page. Okay, so now we've got that fixed to one side of the board. What we're going to do is we're going to cut out this page. So we're going to use this edge as our guide. So we're going to line the paper up. We're going to line the rule on the paper, and we're just going to trim as close to that line as we can. And so there's just a very faint line of the printed finish just showing on the edge there. That's what we want. Get it as close to that edge as you can, and we'll just chop this out. And while we're doing this, will become apparent for the next stage. Okay. Okay, almost there. Oops. Right, so now we've got that sheet printed, we can see that when we place that over the top of that, the two sizes of those sheets are near enough identical. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to trim out this one. So again, what we need to do is we need to cut through and leave as much of the lose as much of the printed artwork as we can, and then we're going to lose that bit. So when you're using the knife and you're cutting through the board, try and keep your knife fairly straight. If you angle it like that, it will reflect in the counter. So try and keep your blade as upright as possible. Don't angle it at all, left and right. Keep it fairly straight, and you need quite a bit of pressure to push through and lose the edge. Okay, and we'll just do all 4 corners, all 4 edges. Okay. And you want to keep your blade fairly sharp all the while you're cutting with these. The sharper the blade, the better the cut. If you're using a blunt knife, it's going to drag and it could fray the paper as you're cutting. Okay, so when you're at that stage, you now need to stick this to the back of there, and that's one of the reasons why we've trimmed both sheets up, so we can get the alignment quite accurately from the front image to the back, and also we need to make sure we label it up the correct way. So we've got the counters are that way up, so when we turn it over, the backs are that way up. So place that down, and now we're going to stick that on, and this is probably the trickiest part of the whole operation, is to make sure you line this sheet up as best you can. I'm having difficulty just peeling the backing paper off, but we'll get through that and we'll find it. I've actually just recently cut my fingernails, so I'm struggling. Here we go, so there we go. Right, peel your sheet off and start off with one corner. Just check you're doing it the right way up. Okay, so I normally just stick a corner on, and then you can carefully just, that wasn't very good, you can usually just tweak this around a bit to get that to line up with that top edge there, and then when you've got it going, just work your way down, smoothing the page down as you go so you don't get any trapped air bubbles. And as you go down the page, just keep lowering it down. And then you'll get to a point where you've got it like that, and I always use the backing sheet, place it over the top, just give it a good sort of stick down, make sure it's all stuck down. Okay. Smooth the edges, and then turn it over. So now what we're going to do now is we're going to cut out these counters individually. So the way we do this is we're going to all the counters, the fronts of the counters are going to have these lines on them, these cutting lines, and we want to remove them. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to slice through them, do your longer cuts first, and then so do all your long cuts first, or all the longest cuts that you can do first, removing these little lines. So it's all about just placing your rule just right. Okay, and then just using your knife, keeping it upright, slice through and remove those pieces. Okay, and so now we're going to just work our way around, doing all the cuts around the outside first. And this is pretty much it. Once you've cut through and cut your counters out, that's it. Okay, so we've got all our counters now printed off, and you might find that there's a slight edge that's been kicked up from the knife, and you can just go around and just use your finger just to smooth it down if you're worried about it. And so there's your counter. The last thing that you could do, which is advisable but not essential, is if you want to just seal the artwork, so seal the ink, and you do that with something like this, which is a hobby and craft sealer. Just lay them out onto a piece of wood or a piece of cardboard in the garage or in the garden, and just give them a spray over with some of this stuff just to seal the artwork. You can do that front and back if you want. I tend not to worry too much if tokens get worn or damaged. I would just reprint them, but especially with glossy paper, it is easy for the ink to be scratched off. You could spray them with some of this stuff. Okay, so what I've done is I've laid out the components from the mapping game, which are these ones here at the bottom, and to compare them against the ones we've printed at the top. So some differences initially is the edging of these. Because these are laser cut, the edges get burnt, so they're darker. So in the print and play version, the colour of the edges is reflected by the type of mounting board that we used. So in this case it's white, so we end up with some white edges. But looking at them close up, both got a nice glossy finish. Ours have come out slightly darker than the official printed ones. We could probably improve upon that on the printer settings. And the backs got a glossy black on the other ones, so that was just the choice of our media paper. So pretty much an identical product. So next time what we'll be doing is we'll be printing off the Game Tracker mat, and the crystals will follow the same format as this.